Hey everybody, it is time once again for the weekly Rahdo Recap, and hi there everybody, I am here in my RV. We are in Central California, just south of San Francisco, visiting my sister-in-law and her family for a week, and after that we will continue on to Southern California and then into Mexico. But that's for weeks to come. Right now, you don't really need to hear about a travelogue update, right? You just want to know the big three. What appeared on the channel this week, what appeared on other people's channels this week, and what new games did I discover in all of my normal weekly research. Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to run you through them right now. Let's get going. Starting with a couple of exclusive videos if you happen to be a financial supporter of the show. Either here on YouTube, you can hit that join button down below, or over at Patreon, you can hit that I in the top right corner of the screen to learn more. What exclusives are available? I'm glad you asked. For starters, there is the monthly Gen Jog. This is like a companion piece. Every month I do a Rahdo roundup where I tell you about all the games that Jen and I played from my perspective, how I like them, and then Jen does the same thing from her perspective and the Gen Jog where I jog her memory about the games we played. And she always has some very interesting observations, sometimes very different than mine, and I always enjoy it myself. Anyway, that is available right now. And what's the other one? The other one is, right, the monthly Rahdo release for November. Every month I put a new full playthrough from start to finish of a game that I played with Jen, and this month it's Project Elite, for reasons that will become clear a little bit later in this recap. But, you know, one of the greatest real-time cooperative games of all time, maybe the greatest, really. Does it eclipse Escape? Anyway, you'll find out why, and this is available for all backers at all levels as a thank you for helping keeping Rahdo running. Okay, with that out of the way, what does everybody get to see on the channel? Well, for starters, Shay did a run-through of Undergrove, which I don't remember if has it started fundraising now or is it still coming next week. I think it actually launches as crowdfunding next week, so you get to see it a little bit early. And this game is fantastic. It is a communal engine building game where players are Douglas fir trees trying to literally network with the mycelial network of fungus to help their seedlings grow and advance. And it is really sharp. It's from designer Elizabeth Hargrave teaming up with another designer who's worked on a lot of Thunderstone games. I want to say, was it Matt Wooten? Mr. Wooten. You're perhaps not quite as known as Elizabeth, but I'm sure you worked really well together because I've gotten a chance to play this as well. It's Shay's run through, but I played it at the Funicon convention that we were at earlier this week or last week, and it is phenomenal. And if you want to know why, you can go check out Shay's preview right now. There's going to be a link for it and everything I talk about today down in the show notes. Or if you wait until the end of the video, you'll be able to see a playlist of all these videos just all in one place. So anyway, that was for starters, but that's not all. I got together with Ruel and Chris George and Travis Chance of Cool Mini or Not, and we did the latest episode of the R&R show. And this week the topic was top 12 miniature heavy games. And folks, that's why I decided, hey, since I'm already talking about miniatures, and spoiler alert, Project Elite made it onto our top 12 best miniature games of all time. You'll have to check this out if you want to see more about it, but I figured, hey, good time for me to make that the Rahdo release this month so people who support the show can see it in action, the new Artipia version. But that was just one of 12 games we talked about miniature heavy, and in fact, if you watch the extended edition of the show, not only do you get to hear me do a full top 10 of my own personal favorite miniature heavy games of all time, which is saying something because I generally don't like miniatures in games, but I found 10 that I love and was willing to talk about in the extended edition of the R&R. But since we had Travis on, and he is a designer for Cool Mini or Not, we got to hear all about his history, personal and in the board game industry, working with Martin Wallace to bring popular games back, which I'll talk about a little bit later in this very episode. There's so much synergy between all the segments. Anyway, though, the latest R&R was a blast. Travis is hilarious, as is Chris. Ruel is a great host, as always. And that was the latest R&R. Then what have we got? Okay, I just mentioned it a little bit ago, my monthly roundup where I tell you about the 10 games that Jen and I played, and I do them in countdown format, telling you about my least favorite, ending with my most favorite. Always a great time, always just a good way to get a concentrated blast of all the latest gaming that I've gotten up to. So the roundup is available. And not to be outdone, Grant gave us his Grant's Greatest Games, where he talks about the 5 best games he played this month. And his number 1 and his number 2, I agree, are both phenomenal. One of them actually makes it probably into my top 10 of the year, although it's kind of a controversial choice, I've heard. So anyway, though, so you can hear about top 10 of the month from me. You can hear about top 5 from Grant. A lot of games to talk about, but we're still not done, folks, because I put up a couple of Rahdo Recaps reviews. I just spent a few minutes giving you the basic rundown of Forest Shuffle, which is a very hot new card game from Lookout Games. As more people get their hands on it, I think they're going to love it. And I'll tell you why I didn't love it. Kind of going against the grain there. And also was the other one. Oh, I also had another rapid review for World Wonders from Arcane Wonders, which is a phenomenal polyomino-style tile-laying game with some really cool twists. So you can just get a quick little blurb of what's up with those 2 games. So anyway, that's what went up on the Rahdo channel. But what about other channels? I'm glad you asked again. First of all, Shay, who does run-throughs on my channel, has his own channel, RTFM, where he does really great how-to-plays, and I really enjoyed the one he did for Run from Tim Fowers Games. He really went overboard on his intro. I mean, he put his green screen to the test, doing a whole fun little, entertaining vignette, setting the stage for this game, and but then, as always, he does a phenomenal job of teaching how to play. Amy and Maggie, if I recall correctly, did a run-through of the game on the channel, gosh, I want to say a couple of years ago now. It must have been last year maybe. But anyway, now you can learn how to play it beat by beat. And this is definitely a game that is well worth checking out. So run, do not walk to Shay's channel to watch him have some fun with Run. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, right. Okay. Room 51. Matthew was joined by co-host Jess. I don't really know Jess. She's a Twitch streamer, but I do know Matthew. I've been watching him for a while. Actually played a game with him a couple of years ago at a convention. He's great. He actually spent the time to teach me. Anyway, though, long story short, Matthew has a wonderful channel, Room 51, and this week he did a special, the top 15 DEI influencers in board gaming, and I think that's fantastic. Trying to use his platform to lift up others, and he's really focusing on inclusive and diverse voices within the industry. This is something that I try to do every week on this show. I've tried to find more channels you haven't heard of from a wide variety of voices. And this week, Matthew had a really great video telling you about 15. If you enjoy me talking about other channels and giving you suggestions for who you should go check out and subscribe to, you'll definitely want to watch this video as well. Matthew and Jess did a great job. I really enjoyed it. And we had one other video I want to talk about. Kavre. I've mentioned them in the past on the channel. And, again, they are well worth subscribing to. They are a lot of fun to watch. And this week they did this big collaboration video talking about polyomino games. And tile-laying games, polyomino specifically, are one of my favorite genres of all time. So I definitely enjoyed watching over 20 different board game media people, like Paula Deming here and a whole bunch of others, talking about their favorite polyomino games and going into what makes them so great. Thought it was a great video. I was kind of bummed they didn't ask me to, because honestly, since I wasn't on it, I'll tell you what mine would have been. Somebody took, what do you call it? Unknown Planet. That probably would be my top, but my number 2 would probably be Isle of Cats, Explore and Draw. Although I was really surprised, nobody put Tiny Towns on. And I think I'd probably say Tiny Towns, even though it's a very controversial choice, because really, is it a polyomino game where you build your own polyominoes? I'm not quite sure, but anyway, regardless, it was a great video. I really enjoyed hearing such a wide variety of sources, and I pretty much agreed with all of the choices. So if you're at all interested in tile-laying games, you owe it to yourself to check out Kavre's We Love Polyomino Games videos. Okay, so those were some videos on some other folks' channels. I mean, so many people in this video. It was awesome. But let's move on to some new games that I discovered. I think I've got 5 new games that really piqued my interest, and I have added to my wish list on Board Game Geek at the either like to have, love to have, or must have category. So let me tell you about them. For starters, let's go into a bit to Babel, which I don't think there's really any pictures of it other than the box art, is there? Nope. Whenever I do this, folks, you're hearing about games way early than you'll generally hear on any other channel, because as soon as I find them on Board Game Geek. As soon as they're entered into the database, even if they're not coming, well, this one doesn't come till 2024, I'll still tell you about them so you can find them. Links down in the show notes, and subscribe to them, like, as you can see, I have done. Anyway, though, why am I interested in Babel? It is a challenging cooperative card game where no one speaks your language. I love this idea. I love cooperative games that are all about limited communication. We have to figure out how to get our ideas across to our teammates who we're working with. And the Tower of Babel, where nobody speaks the same language, is brilliant. Because on my turn, I don't do actions. Instead, I issue orders to my teammates telling them what to do. But the problem is they don't speak my language. Or at best, we have limited communication. And I think that sounds like an absolutely awesome idea. We're basically trying to complete building the tower before all idea decks have run out. And so there's actually a fair bit about the gameplay here, but you had me at limited communication, especially when it's so strongly thematic that in and around the Tower of Babel, nobody can speak the same language, which is why we are, it sounds really, really cool. Very much looking forward to that. Also, what else? Tiny Epic Cthulhu. How has this taken so long? We've had Tiny Epic games for almost a decade now, and only now are we finally getting the TEC Cthulhu. And so I'm interested because I generally tend to really be drawn into Tiny Epic games. The wonderful series of games from Scott Alms and Gamelin Games. So, some of them have been some of my favorite games of all time. And I'm really interested in this one because it is cooperative. Hoorah! Most Tiny Epic games are competitive. Sometimes they can be fairly cutthroat, but this is a co-op one. And so I'm excited for that reason. And I'm also excited because it is a bag building game. So a cooperative bag building game. Again, most bag builders are competitive instead of cooperative. So I am definitely very, very intrigued. And I cannot wait to learn more about Tiny Epic Cthulhu. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, we're not done talking about Cthulhu. Cthulhu, Dark Providence. Now this is interesting because it is a remake, a reimplementation of an old Martin Wallace classic. Well, it only came out like 6 or 7 years ago, right? Is that classic sass? Regardless, Study in Emerald was such an amazingly brilliant, bonkers, off-the-wall game from Martin Wallace. My problem with it, you go back and watch my original run-through, I respected the heck out of it, but I thought it was a terrible two-player game because so many of the features just pretty much went away. But this new reimplementation brought to us by Cool Mini or Not and Travis Chance, I mentioned him earlier. See, everything's dovetailing back together, teaming up with Martin Wallace to re-envision, give it a new lick of paint, give it a stronger Cthulhu, thematic element, and bringing in solo play. And if they've actually turned this into a potentially solo game, I got to assume that makes the two-player game much, much better, which is why I'm super stoked. If you want to know a little bit more about it, folks, go and watch the extended edition of the R&R show because Travis talked a bit about working with Martin Wallace and trying to turn a famously high player count game into something that works well at lower player counts. And that's not all, because if you go to Board Game Geek, there is a video interview with Travis done by Mark Maya here, and I think, he shows, if we can bring this up, come on, Starlink, he actually shows some of the, the elements and some of the art and whatnot. So if you'd like to know more about it, there is more information to be found on Board Game Geek. Again, links down in the show notes. So I think that's it for Cthulhu stuff today, but I've still got 2 more games. One of them, oh my gosh, Winter Rabbit, a semi-cooperative game set in the world of Cherokee folk stories. You had me interested at celebrating, the indigenous Native American culture and bringing their folk stories to life in board gaming. So that's already very, very interesting. Plus, it talks about, in this description here, the fact that it is a worker placement game where we place hidden workers. I don't know what that means, but I'm definitely wanting to check it out. And in fact, folks, you can check it out if you scroll down here. What is it? Joel Eddy has done a series of videos about games that have been entered into this year's Zenobia contest. And the Zenobia contest is famously a place where designers, can submit their designs that focus on, diverse voices and, marginalized voices, bringing, new developers who normally don't get a shot. That's what the Zenobia Awards is all about. And so Joel has been doing a series of videos about the Zenobia Award nominees this year, and it turns out, I believe, Winter Rabbit came in second place. So there is a lot to recommend. This is on my to watch video. I haven't watched yet, which is why I didn't put it in my to watch section, but I figured, hey, two birds with one stone. I have an extra video for you to watch this when you learn more about Winter Rabbit, which sounds very, very cool. Okay, and then one more new game, and I almost didn't put this one on. Diora managed a production plant to show who is the best. And folks, there is nothing. There is no description. It just says it's a worker placement game that lasts 5 rounds. That is it. And that's not enough for me normally, but amazingly, there are tons of pictures of this game on Board Game Geek, and I gotta say, the pictures look really nice. They make this game look very attractive, and so I'm a sucker for a big, complex board game with a lot of moving parts and very colorful. It actually looks like it's dice worker placement, which they don't even mention in the description on Board Game Geek, obviously, or oddly. I do not know why they kind of skip on that, but oops, there's the button. But I honestly, I'm just going based on the screenshots. This game looks like it could be pretty cool. I love dice worker placement. I wish there was more information about the game, so I kind of put that at the bottom of my list. But again, I have subscribed to it, although I broke my rule. This one I gave a 4 to thinking about it because there's just not enough information. But I subscribed, so when they eventually post rules, I'll take a look at it somewhere down the road. Anyway, though, that's it, folks. That was the wrong button. There's the correct button. This episode was not sponsored by Arcane Wonders. I still had that set up from recording the roundup yesterday, but that's another week done and dusted, and now I have got to go and be social with my family or my extended family. So you can click that over there or that. There's things on the board, the screen to click, but I gots to go, folks. After I upload this for you to enjoy, and you'll hear more from the road soon. Talk to you. So long. Bye bye.